Hello, I'm Sam Salek.
And I'm Paul Cubbage.
Welcome to the Federal Baseball Podcast. We have an amazing guest today. As you can see, it's Chuck Todd. He's been a fixture in D.C. in the world of politics for a long time now, but he's also a massive baseball fan. He was the host of Meet the Press for 9 years, but more importantly, he's a huge Nationals fan who, like the rest of us, has a lot of concerns about the team. So the first question, let's get right into it. What's more depressing, Nationals baseball or the state of American politics these days?
Well, I lump them together because, why I'm really angry with the Nats and with the learners is because the professional part of my life sucks, okay? And there's nothing I want better than to have something else at night to watch, and relax me. And if anything, it just sort of gives me more agita, especially that bullpen on certain times. But yes, it's sort of one of those. I don't know who's going to be in worse shape by 2030, the Nats or America. But the problem is they're both going in the wrong direction.
Yeah. So let's just get into another question. Where do you think it's all gone wrong for this team? I was listening to your rant the other week, a few weeks ago. Do you have anything just to say about the ownership situation?
I think here's what I think is happening, and I say this with a little bit of information, but I'm not gonna, go to court defending these sources. But what you have when Ted died, Ted Lerner, the patriarch of the family. While Mark is the decision maker, there is in a sense he's the sole decision maker, right? And that essentially it's a team that's run by committee. And whenever you run anything by committee, you make slower decisions. So you take longer to make the right decision, and sometimes you're just paralyzed and you don't even make a decision, right? It becomes indecisive. You could sort of see that in the way they dragged out the Rizzo and Martinez situation. That felt like paralysis.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you can't look, the COVID situation. They, in particular, took it on the chin. They're massive landowners and retail, right? The collapse of physical brick-and-mortar retail really hurt the learners a lot. For those that don't know, they basically developed most of Tyson's Corner. And they, by some estimates, lost 20% of the family net worth, right? If they were worth approximately $5 billion, they lost $1 billion. Now, hey, they're still billionaires, right? Like, hey, I certainly, I wouldn't want to lose 20% of my income or 20% of my net worth, no matter what your net worth is. So I understand that. So, and then what appears to be half the family wants to sell and half doesn't. And everything I understand is Mark doesn't. Mark loves the team. Mark wants to be his dad. I think he wants to be, and yet he can't make a move without agreement. So this feels as if we are just sort of, we as fans were kind of trapped by this, I don't want to call it family drama. It's not, this happens to a lot of wealthy families when the patriarch or matriarch passes away. There's suddenly sort of a scramble. Who's calling the shots? Who's in charge? We've all, I'm an only child, so I don't know what this is like, but I have 2 children, so I understand sibling rivalries. And, all sorts of, personal drama can get in the way of things. So I'm right. And it just doesn't help the team. And, so it is really disconcerting. Before Guggenheim, with the folks that own the Dodgers, essentially, I believe the learners were the highest personal net worth of any owner in baseball. So we don't, it's a choice. They've made a choice not to spend money on this team. Now, certainly appears to me they haven't done it because they're not sure if they're selling. Are you going to put on a pool at your house or are you going to sell your house? Right? Like it's, so this appears to be the problem, which of course has just paralyzed us in the free agent market. Why do we continue to have 1-year contracts all over the place? It's just all of that indecisiveness in the ownership just trickles down. It's why we're the franchise that has the least amount of resources that they spend. We're one of only 5 teams that doesn't have that like AI generated pitcher deal that I read about, right? And when you think about that, do we have the money? Well, in theory we do as a franchise, but they're not spending it because they're thinking about selling it, right? You're not going to throw money into something that you don't think you get the money out if you think you're selling soon. So this is the trap that we as fans are stuck in.
I think that's the most frustrating part. Sam and I have talked about this a little. Is they operated like a big market team for so long.
For a whole decade. Yeah.
They never, now that they want to operate a low budget thing, they want to be the Rays or the Brewers. They don't know how. Yeah. Bartolo's been better about it, but they just don't make a lot of the on the margin moves.
Yeah,
they don't pick up guys off waivers. They don't try and develop guys. So they kind of, like you said, the real estate, they took it on the chin. They couldn't spend like they used to, but they didn't know how to run a low budget team, and we've had the mess of the last couple of years. And I was going to say, you were talking about the Lerners. What I've understood, just from what I picked up, is that Mark Lerner doesn't want to sell the team. Right. Almost everyone else does, most of the siblings.
Right.
So I really think he gets a lot of the fan criticism on the chin. It's like
because he's the face. No one else has stood up. I mean, I'm still frustrated we haven't heard from them about this whole mess. Tell us what your vision for this team is.
Yeah, they put the team on the market a couple years ago, and then they pull it back and they say we're committed, and then they're so committed, but they give Trevor Williams 2 years.
The one guy.
You're all in. It's just the lack of accountability. Or transparency, I guess is the word. Just what's going on.
Yeah, just look, whatever you think of Jerry Jones.
Yeah.
What does he do? He's takes there. Questions. He's there, man. I wouldn't love being a Cowboys fan, and I have Cowboys fans in my life who this is sort of dark to laugh at this, but my favorite meme during the whole Micah Parsons deal was somebody sent this what looked like an obituary photo of Jerry Jones and say, sad news to report, Jerry Jones was found alive this morning. and it was just sort of typical. This is sports fans. I mean, I miss the days when social media could be fun without offending people, but we are where we are. But he's there. He takes the arrows. He takes the questions, right? And that's, I think, the frustration here is, we've got it feels like the franchise is being run by a bunch of temps. Yeah. Because guess what? It is a bunch of temps, right? Exactly. And, they don't, as you said, if they wanted to be a financially efficient team, right? If you want to be a cheap but competitive team, if you don't want to become the Pirates or the Rockies, which are low-budget teams that don't know how to do it, right? The Marlins, the Rays, there are teams that seem to know how to do this. The A's, they keep developing players. But our lack of investment in player development, if I see another pitcher leave the Nats and improve on another team, I'm going to just go nuts.
Yeah, exactly. And on that note, this kind of circles back to it. Another temp is the GM, and they have to make a decision on that. What do you think will happen there, and what do you think should happen on that front?
Well, I think it goes back to what is your vision for the franchise, right? If you're trying to build the Rays, well, then go hire somebody, go hire a deputy from the Dodgers. Go hire an Andrew Friedman guy, okay? If you really want to I'll tell you what my dream would be. Go give Theo Epstein a third of the team and let him run the goddamn thing, right? I think we'd all like to see that. But that's an unrealistic aspect. But maybe that would look if Mark Lerner. I understand why they couldn't sell the team for the number that they wanted because our TV situation's a mess, right? The TV rights, it isn't. And if you're not going to buy a team where you're not even sure what the rights are. Let Leonsis buy a piece, right? Or bring in an equity partner that maybe allows you to take some cash out. You can appease your siblings because you've gotten, the original price tag was what, about $450 million,
something,
right?
Something like that.
So, if you get a valuation of say $2 billion, of an investment, right? You valuate it at $2 billion and take say $500 million in cash or something, right? You essentially get your money back. Maybe that appeases them, allows them to be, and going with Leonsis, you get your TV partner. That's what he wants. He wants to make Monumental Sports an entertainment and media company. He's got a head start. Maybe you, Mark Lerner, get a piece of that action, right? Maybe they do a little bit of a swap, but that's kind of what I'd like to see. Or you find a way to partner with Josh Harris. Baseball, I think, is the only thing he hasn't dabbled in yet.
Yeah, 76ers and Commanders, I think.
Right. Yeah. So that would be another avenue to go. But look, we know what's going to happen here. James Wood's going to get signed as a free agent in 3 years with somebody.
Yeah.
Or, I'm sure we're not going to sign C.J. Abrams because we're going to talk ourselves out of it, and he's going to be traded in a year or two. We can all feel what's coming. And they will trade Gore next year if they're not a contender. I'm glad they didn't trade him this year. I don't think they were going to get enough. I think whatever they were going to get this year, you could get next year. Yeah. So don't pull the rug out from under the fans. I know others. This was a healthy debate. I'm guessing you guys may have had a debate.
Sam and I were kind of on different sides of it. I was on your side. I think you hold him a year because I think there's still more he kind of falls off the second half of the year. I want new coaches with him. I want to see
in the middle of June, right when he starts to fade.
Right.
Sam, you were ready to let him go, and I get that. I think you could have gotten some really cool things. You could have
I think it just depends on the offers. Really, it depends on what was on the table. It seemed like it wasn't what they wanted because none of the pitchers at that deadline got moved. Really.
What really frustrates me is what's the holy grail of scouting? A left-handed starting pitcher, right? And you have one. Don't give it up so fast, because guess what you won't have when you trade him? A quality left-handed starting pitcher, right? So I get that they're worth something, but there's a reason they're valuable.
Yeah. I think the biggest problem is Scott Boras is like the boogeyman to most Nationals fans. Yeah. James Wood
who created this mess? Ted, I'll take any contract you put in front of my face, Lerner. Right? I'm sorry, I have no empathy for the Lord. Oh, we won't draft anybody, Boras, because we're suckers.
they draft all these guys. Exactly.
Yeah, we want to hate him, but he also Scott Boras built the 2010 Nationals. Almost as much as Mike Rizzo did.
Guys, I got to share with you something though, because I think your listeners will appreciate this. So I gave the guy who's the account guy who was handling my season ticket account, right? And I say, hey, look, I said my kids have just moved out, right? So I'm going to go from 4 to 2. But I'm really tempted not to do this at all because it doesn't look like the team cares. It's not your fault, but I just want you to send a message to your bosses that, hey, the fans are a little restless and all this stuff. And he says, so you know what he said to me? He goes, look, you're not alone. A lot of fans feel this way. He goes, basically the best case I can make is we probably aren't going to have baseball in 2027 because of labor strife. So come on along for one more year and see what he goes, because we may not have baseball in 27. And, I'm like, man, that's a sad sales pitch. But it wasn't horrible.
What are your thoughts on that? I kind of like to get your on a salary cap, floor. Where do you kind of sit on all that?
Well, I mean, my second job, by the way, professionally, was I helped start a sports business publication. Sports Business Journal is what it's called today. We called it Sports Business Daily. And we started it in '94, which was the year of the canceled World Series. And I think back to that moment. And Manfred, by the way, was the chief legal counsel at the time. He was Selig's he was sort of the consigliere. Sort of that. Baseball works just like the NFL. You sort of work your way up, right? And he was sort of like the counsel. And if I told you they canceled a World Series in a fight over the salary cap, and then the next year baseball came back, you would assume, they must have gotten their salary cap, right? To think that now they know they need it. The Dodgers, look, I have a buddy who's a scout with the Twins. The Twins cannot compete with the Dodgers. You have a system that is it's just never going to happen. Now, the baseball playoffs themselves are the great equalizer, right? If you can beat the Dodgers in a 5-game series, right? We proved it. The only time the Dodgers basically have been stopped the last decade is when either us, the Padres, or the Diamondbacks or the Braves beat them in the 5 game.
Mm-hmm.
When they get to that 7 game, they're pretty hard to beat.
Unless they play like a super team, like that one in
another
Boston.
super team.
Yeah.
So they do need to create some sort of higher floor, and is it fair that the Dodgers could sign Betts, Freeman, right, Ohtani, and then let's keep it going here. Will Smith is one of the 3 or 4 best catchers already, right? They keep going down this line, and they can end up.
Yeah. Saw a report today about Kyle Tucker. He seems like they want to go get him.
I mean, like, what's the, if you're trying to create competitive balance, how do you do that? And so, look, I'm empathetic with the players. This is the strongest players union you have, but it's the owners. The owners are some shitty owners, pardon my French. There's some really bad owners. Not all of them know what they're doing, right? The owners of the Rockies clearly don't know what they're doing. The Pirates owners don't know what they're doing. I think the Nats have owners that did know what they were doing, but we've just described that situation. And so I understand the players going, why should we help out bad owners? That's a fair point. But the Rays have good owners, right? They seem to have, they don't know how to make money. Is that a geographic thing? Is that just St. Pete's a terrible place to have a team? That's my argument. If they moved it to Orlando, that would be a franchise that would, I think, become much more formidable as sort of a
Seems like
attendance
Florida,
driver.
Weird baseball market, though. Should be
someone trying to move.
My frustration with, I grew up in Miami, so I grew up without baseball, and I grew up dying for baseball to come. And my argument would be it's not fair. Both Florida franchises were flawed from the get-go. You had an owner that refused to put it in Miami at first, and it was playing in a football stadium. Imagine if the Nats were playing every game at FedEx Field for 10 years. That's what the Marlins did. It was that far away from everybody. Okay?
Yeah.
You can't do, and then they're like, oh no, the Marlins don't draw. Then, instead of building a stadium right on the water, which is if you were in Miami, hey, where do you want your entertainment facilities? Where does the Miami Heat play? An arena on the water. Where does the DC, the MLS team play? Right on the water. They put the baseball stadium in the middle of Little Havana, where there's no reason to go to other than the baseball game. There's nothing around it. They've not created an entertainment complex. There's no reason to go. Then the Tampa franchise is not in Tampa. It's in St. Pete. It's as if, remember when there was a fight for baseball around here, there were some people that said, hey, let's build the stadium in Fairfax. Well, that's like having it in St. Pete.
Yeah.
You're never going to get DC people to go out to Fairfax, but maybe once or twice a month.
Now they have it in Tampa, or at least near Tampa, but it's in a minor league stadium.
Right. Man, they're selling out, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, but the point is that to go back to the labor thing, I think it's clear the owners, but this isn't a good set of owners, and it's a weird compared to the NFL and the NBA. The baseball teams owners get a majority of their revenue from themselves, not from the shared revenue. And until the owners agree to revenue share better, the Dodgers' Japanese media rights are more valuable than anything the Minnesota Twins sells.
Yeah.
How do you run, the NFL shares that. The Dallas Cowboys, if the NFL had baseball's rules, the Dallas Cowboys would be even more valuable than they are today. And the Jacksonville Jaguars would never be seen on television anyway.
Yeah. We just wanted to do some quick fire questions with you as well. Like, how did you kind of fall in love with baseball and growing up in a market that didn't have a team? Who was your team growing up?
So my first memory is the 77 World Series. My dad, no longer with us, but he was a Dodger fan. My grandfather was a Yankee fan. So my dad didn't have the best relationship with his father, which I think may explain why he picked the Dodgers. He grew up in Iowa.
Just to spite him.
He met, and it's the reason why. If you look behind me, and actually you can't see it. I'll get the picture. My dad's favorite player was Roy Campanella,
Yeah.
And he met Roy Campanella when he was 5. And so when you're like 5 or 6, right? And it's like, you're just so impressionable. And that's why he was a big Dodger fan. Anyway, the 77 and 78, I just thought it was so cool. My dad and grandfather were betting against each other, and they were yelling about it. And Reggie Jackson cheated in the World Series, when he missed a tag and all this stuff. At least that's the story I have, and I'm sticking to it. And my dad would take me to Vero Beach. Even though I grew up in Miami, the Dodgers trained in Vero Beach. They still trained in Florida back then. And and I remember meeting Fernando Valenzuela, and then my dad would be like, "Hey, that's Sandy Koufax. Go up to him. Hey, that's Duke Schneider. Hey, that's And so and Steve Garvey was my favorite player. Now that if you Google Steve Garvey, you'll be like, but it's back then he seemed like Mr. Clean, and my batting stance was Steve Garvey. So we subscribed to the afternoon paper in Miami only because it was the only way to get the West Coast box scores, because the Dodgers always played at 10:30 East Coast time. So that was my life. The '88 World Series happened, which is the famous Kirk Gibson home run. My dad was on his deathbed. We watched that series together. I mean, not to be like, just every cliche father and son thing. I'm a junior in high school. He's in an ICU, never to leave that place again. And he couldn't talk, but he could watch. And that World Series just, it's an emotional. It was amazing anyway. You wrap it up in your own personal emotions, and so, leave it to me. Like I'm not kidding. As a kid, I'm like, someday I'm going to be a season ticket holder. I just hope somewhere I get to live with a baseball team, right? Where do I go? I go to school to the one major city that didn't have a baseball team, Washington, right? Yeah. So, I got it. The only campaign as a journalist that I ever volunteered for was to bring baseball to Arlington. I went to a bunch of volunteer meetings. I still dream of seeing that stadium in Roslyn, where center field is the monuments, right? I still think that would be, and you could hit balls into the Potomac. That was sort of the visual of that. If that was sort of one of the hopes in 2002 and 2003. And then I had a friend who was in the competing group for the Nationals, so that was a lot of fun, and a fun what if for me personally had that happen. But no, I just and I've always got my son addicted to baseball, and he'll tell me, he says, Dad, I'm like the only one of my friends that likes baseball. He says everybody else likes UFC better than baseball. He says I think I'm the only one that likes baseball better than UFC, and I'm like, yeah, I know. You're gonna. That's all right. We're gonna keep this game alive.
Yeah. You've kind of answered a lot of the other quick hitters, but what were some of the best Nats games you ever went to in your time since they've been around?
Well, I will say, as I was the infamous 18-inning game.
Mm-hmm.
I was there.
Against the Giants?
Yeah, it was against the Giants, where should we have pulled Jordan Zimmerman or not?
No,
right?
And
not. He was pitching an amazing game.
Yeah.
Man, for that 2-year period, he felt like, this was pre-Scherzer, right? We signed Scherzer the next year, I think.
Yeah, that
right?
offseason.
That offseason. And Zimmerman felt like a real number one. I want to say he probably finished third or fourth in the Cy Young that year, I want to say. That may have been the year of his no-hitter.
Yeah, I think it was.
That was the first start after the no-hitter, wasn't it? 2014?
That's right. He had the no-hitter at the end of the season, didn't he? Yeah.
Who was 2014? Who would the manager have been?
Matt Williams.
Davey. Was it Matt Williams or Davey Johnson?
Matt Williams. Shout out Matt Williams for keeping your ace in for a full no-hitter on the last game of the season.
Yeah.
Playoff game and
that's old school.
Yeah.
I know. That's old school baseball, isn't it? Like just the old guy.
That's awesome.
A little bit. Yeah. But so that one is just, but I'll never forget the feeling. I'll never forget the feeling of the wild card game.
Yeah, that's
right. The World Series is awkward because I only went to the home games. Mm-hmm. I didn't go to Houston. All the Houston memories are just me and my son watching and the big TV in our basement type of thing. But that when it goes through his legs, right? I'll never forget, like Soto. If you remember early in that game, Soto struck out on a terrible swing. It was like, oh no, it's too big for him. Right? It was like one of those you're like, oh well, maybe next year. This has been like it just seemed like is the moment too big. And then he gets that hit and it's like he goes through the legs and it's like that feeling, my son and I talk about that. It's like that is the most euphoric I have felt at a baseball game in my life. I have felt that way at a couple of University of Miami football games when I was a kid, back in their heyday. But before that, the closest exciting game I'd ever been to in Washington, where the fans were just so happy, before that moment was John Wall in Game 6.
Oh, okay.
And being there, and it was like it was the only time and then that game happens literally it turns into about 6 months later, if I'm remembering my dates correctly. But that's always going to be the searing memory for me, is that wild card game.
Yeah, we'll probably do one or two more questions. Who's your favorite Nat of all time?
Max.
Yeah,
it's not even close.
Yeah.
I collect them. I'm a card collector.
Yeah.
I get all. I basically collect them only in Tigers and Nats uniforms. I'm done with them post Nats. I don't want to see him in a Mets uniform. I don't want to see him in a Rangers uniform or a Blue Jays uniform. I'm all right with the Tigers since that's where he came up, and the Snakes.
How do you feel about a reunion this offseason? 42 years old. We're just having fun. We're going to get locked down in 2027. We're just going to have a little fun.
Yeah. Look, he's not the same pitcher. You can feel it. But
still be one of our better ones.
I think, and doesn't he go in as a Nat in the Hall of Fame?
I'm more and more worried the longer he's gone. I think
I'm worried about that too.
One more year in Detroit
might clinch it.
I'm worried about it.
One more year here than Detroit, I think. Yeah. He did more here.
He got his 20 strikeout game with us. He got a no hitter.
Yeah,
the perfect game that wasn't the only World Series ring that he earned.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the one with the Rangers, he didn't really participate in. So I put it this way: I've never been to Cooperstown, and I made a promise to my son. I said I'm going to make reservation the day Scherzer retires. I'm doing the 5-year in advance reservations in and around Cooperstown, and I want to go to that.
I'm going to be a little bitter if he comes out and says no hat, or I'm going to be bitter. But.
Well, who's that on? Is that? I mean, who's still paying him? We backloaded that contract.
We'll be paying him when he gets in. So.
Correct. So maybe.
Didn't we get the Dodgers to take one of those years? So we got a lesser package because of that. Probably.
Is that right?
Something like that.
Well, you remember, the Tampa Bay. The thing you got to worry about is, the Tampa Bay Rays when they signed Wade Boggs.
Mm-hmm.
They gave him extra money if he agreed to put a Rays hat for the World Series, for the Hall of Fame, and he did. And I'm like, and in some ways, if you're Boggs, you're like, do I do Red Sox, Yankees? Nah, forget it. I'll do Rays, right? Like, why piss off one major fan base when you can piss them both off?
Exactly. I think this was such a great chat. It was great having you on. Great to have another fellow.
Well, I want to hear, what are your answers to this, real quick? What do you keep DeBartolo as GM, and does that?
I generally lean rip the Band-Aid off and go with someone on the outside. I feel like I just feel like a lot of, even though DeBartolo seems like a very different personality, it's still the same continuity of an era that just kind of got so stale at the end. Whether it was all Rizzo's fault or not, he was definitely part of it. Ownership was definitely part of it. We have to move on from that whole era. It's over.
Excellent. And what about, where are you?
That's where I am on it. I wrote an article right after he got fired, after Rizzo got fired. Yeah. And there was 3 guys I really liked, all DMV roots. It was the former Twins guy. So he's a pretty good drafter. He's kind of run the low budget operation.
Yeah,
he's the Dodgers' second in command. He's their head player personnel. These are all 2 of them grew up in Vienna. One's from some Silver Spring player. They're all local guys. all kind of low budget, or not the Dodgers, but
Medium
they do
budget.
both. And the third was the Rays. Sam
That
helped me
one,
with this.
yeah, it's Neander. That one seemed like more of a
Neander's the dream. Why would he leave? I don't know. Maybe we can promise him that there's some money coming. Whether there is.
Well, is it at the Rays? You said that guy is.
Yeah, Eric Neander. That's it. I think he's.
Well,
just
there's a
the head
new
of everything.
owner. He may be looking for a job because they got a new owner, and new owners, new owner disease, right? They all come in and they're going to bring in their own people, no matter how. This happens in every business. Forget sports. They're going to bring in their own people, so this is actually the perfect time to strike and grab some Rays guys.
It would come with a lot of promises. You need to give them like the advanced hitting, like the VR stuff that Mike Rizzo, as soon as he got called out, is like, we just looked at it. It's coming in tomorrow.
It's here now, apparently.
Isn't it? It is.
They're another example of the ownership and front office being very reactive.
Yeah, look, I would be fine if we just brought Mike Maddox back as a pitching coach.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Jesus, like that guy, he does. Look what he's done with Jacob deGrom.
Yeah, I mean, kept him healthy for a full season.
Yeah.
It's amazing. That's the one time we have a competent pitching coach, and everybody does well. Literally, he leaves and it all comes apart.
Yeah, and then same with Kevin Long on the hitting side.
Is he with the Harper's favorite hitting coach?
Now.
Yeah, with the Phillies.
Phillies, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a preference for manager at all?
Well, the problem is manager. It depends on what you want your manager to do, right? If they're not filling out the lineup card, and it feels like we're a team that lets AI do the lineup card every night. That's what it feels like, right?
Or it seems like more of a random name
We just
generator.
like to have fun. Jorge Alfaro just was on the street. He was probably getting offers from Korea, and we said, "You want to come bat third?"
Yeah, come on in. We're looking.
Yeah.
I mean, you're like, oh, Riley Adams is hitting cleanup tonight. Got it. Okay.
Sure, I guess.
Why
I
not?
hadn't thought of that one. I mean, I'm good with James Wood lead off. Sure, give it a shot. Maybe why not? And that's the issue, right? I'd love to know that Ryan Zimmerman had the baseball IQ to be a manager. I don't know if he does, but I would like something like that, right? I'd love some continuity, but I don't know. I don't know if Zimmerman is that kind. Usually it's former catchers that are the better managers, and not always the DH guys or
It seems
anything
like they're
like
kind of trying to soft launch him into the broadcast booth. I feel like they bring him on more and more. I love Ryan Zimmerman, but
I really want him to. Let's just say I'm always rooting for him, and I'm always like, oh, it's a little dry.
Yeah.
It's a little dry up there. I'll be honest with you. I sometimes miss some FP because you didn't know what he was gonna say, and
Yeah. Franson seems like a great guy, but
he does seem like a good guy to have a beer with. But
any big hit, you can
my
hear him in
son's
the
favorite.
background.
My son's favorite thing to say is, Dad, you have a higher WAR than Franson.
Yeah.
Do you like LaCroix or the AAA Matt?
Yeah, he seems like a wise old man. Do you know much
Does
about
he?
him?
I don't. I don't.
We both really wanted him when Davey was gone. We figured it was perfect.
Yeah,
AAA guy, really respected, kind of paid his dues. And then
Well, look at the Brewers. Have you read that guy's story? He's
Yeah.
that guy, what you're just describing. College baseball coach, sort of worked his way up, and then Council brings him on as a bench coach, and now look at him, right?
Yeah.
So I'm all for give me an old baseball guy, right? Who just seen it all. Yeah.
And I think
Okay.
it's more important whoever he brings with the staff, the hitting coach. No more Paras. No more Doolittles. I like Doolittle, but I don't. He's not helping. Like,
Yeah, it just seems like
there's something. Look, James Wood needs a mentor, and he doesn't have one right now.
yeah.
Not a hitting coach, a mentor. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys, this was fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me rant.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
By the way, what have they won? 6 or 7?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. I think
Nothing
they got to go 13-7 to get 71 wins again, 3 years
That
in a
would be
row.
very funny.
I was
We
hoping.
could do it.
I
But
my mark was 80 or clean house,
yeah,
and
we're
we're not
That's
going to
not
get to 80.
happening. That's not
no,
happening.
we're not. Probably not going to get to 70.
But I thought 80 was a fair ask. I just wanted to be close to 500.
Yeah, like 75.
And
Yeah.
sort of like where the Reds are. I want to. If we were like, hey, we're kind of hanging around. We're not eliminated yet. Like I wanted to start football season not being eliminated.
Yeah,
give me a reason to tune in. Just be like, what if?